Hi, welcome to my complete Cyrene guide. Cyrene or Cyrene is our newest 5-star coming in version 3.7. This video will go through everything you need to know on how to play and build her, covering her best Litecoins, Relic sets, Planar Ornaments, teams, and many more. Before we start, I'm giving away 2 supply passes / welcomes to my subscribers at 7k subs, so make sure to subscribe. To start, how does Cyrene's kit work? Cyrene is an ice unit following the path of remembrance. Her memo sprite, which I'll be calling Elysia for this video, is unique in the sense that it is basically Cyrene herself. It counts as a unit on the field but cannot be targeted by anyone. When Elysia is summoned, increase HP and dispel core control for all allies. The first memo skill can be either chosen to be attack in AoE or buff a selected ally, giving them special effects if they are Crisis Hera, otherwise damage dealt increase. For the special effects, RMC and Mem gains attack, crit rate, and after using the enhanced basic attack that comes with equipping the brand new Litecoin coming in 3.7 for RMC, grant a turn and launch Elysia's skill attack automatically. Aglaia stacks the speed stack to max immediately, and after Aglaia or her Garment Maker attacks, regenerate energy. Additionally, increase damage dealt and defense ignore of both of them until the end of ultimate state. Tribute's damage now ignores defense, and her follow-up attack now triggers one more instance of damage from a zone. My Day gets cleansed, and when in talent state, uses his enhanced skill immediately without using charge while gaining crit damage for this attack. Otherwise, when not in talent state, gain a turn. Caster's ultimate cap is now increased to 200%, with every percentage over 200 increasing damage of Netherwing exploding. Additionally, increased when there are 2 or less enemies upon spawn. Anaxa recovers a skill point and takes action. His next skill now has 3 more instances, and the next time he attacks, increase attack of all erudition path units with a skill damage up to Anaxa as well. Hyacinth gains energy and makes all healing from Ica increased for 2 skills or ultimates. Suffer gains damage dealt and further decreases defense of all enemies with a bigger decrease for the patron. Final gains 6 ultimate stacks, and for each point over 12 when ultimating, increase crit damage. Additionally, increase crit rate and makes his ultimate stay not end after 8 turns, instead regain those 8 turns, but at the cost of losing HP per turn, while also making every attack deal additional instances of damage. High Silence gains energy for 1 attack and increased damage dealt, while also making basic attacks / skill proc DOT like Kafka. Ceredra further increases the crit damage of a skilled ally, and after her repeat skill, recover 1 stack. Evernight gains increased damage dealt when using Eevee's enhanced attack, and after skilling or ultimating, gain more Memoria while increasing her crit damage buff to Memo Sprites. And DHPT gains increased damage to Soul Dragon, and his bondmate now deals more damage. Additionally, Soul Dragon is granted a turn, and its next attack will be an Empower 1 equivalent to the ultimate buff without consuming a stack. Her second memo skill increases instances of damage of Elysia's attack when recollection is gained from all allies, and when ultimating or upon Elysia's summon, gain story. When story reaches 3, consume all to automatically launch Elysia's attack. Okay, with that absolutely insane of a memo sprite skill out of the way, Cyrene's basic attack does damage in single target and gains 1 recollection point. Cyrene's skill gains 3 stacks of recollection points and deploys a zone for 2 of her turns. While it is active, deal additional instances of true damage for each instance of ally's attack. Cyrene's talent makes her ultimate cost 24 recollection stacks instead of the standard energy. All allies grant 1 recollection stack when taking action, resetting at battle start or after every Cyrene turn. This can stack up to 27 stacks, and when activating ultimate, dispel all debuffs, increase damage dealt by all allies when Cyrene is on the field. Cyrene's ultimate summons Elysia, making it gain 2 turns, activating all allies' ultimate, then entering the ultimate state. During this state, she can only use her newly gained enhanced basic attack, which deals damage in AoE and gains 3 recollection points. Additionally, increase crit rate of Cyrene and Elysia while deploying the skill zone for infinite turns. This is the 24 recollection cost version of the ultimate and can be only used once per battle. Afterwards, it costs 12, and all it does is gain Elysia a turn. And last but not least, Cyrene's technique, which deploys her skill zone on battle start. These are bonus stat boosts, featuring crit damage, speed, and HP, and for major traces, the first makes every action of allied member sprites gain 1 stack of recollection instead of resetting. The second gains recollection points on battle start, depending on how many Crisis Hairs or Remembrance units are in the team. And the third increases all allies' damage dealt when speed is 180, and for every point over, Cyrene and Elysia gains increased Ice Pen. Overall, that was an absolute bombshell of a kit. For better or worse, this is the most complex kit we have seen today in HSR, and probably one of, if not the most complex kit we will ever see. Being the last Crisis Hair to be released, we get a kit fitting for the start and the end, the origin and the finality of Amphorius. A whole kit dedicated to specifically buffing each and every individual Crisis Hair, with certain units, especially Remembrance units, benefiting the most out of this. All of this is also combined with a frequent AoE attack that also makes her a sub DPS too. For those that are a bit confused on how her Memo Sprite or her kit works in general, Elysia only takes action after using ultimate, and you can either buff with it or attack with it. It doesn't really exist, but does count towards a unit for Memo Sprite based buffs like Evernights. Cyrene's ultimate has 2 versions, the 24 cost one and the 12 cost one. The 24 cost one is the default and grants Elysia 2 turns. After that, it costs 12 and only grants Elysia 1 turn. For the effect of her special buffs, effective for the entire battle is exactly as it says, and one-time effect just simply means the effect happens once and can be refreshed after getting buffed by Elysia again. For her trace leveling priorities, Memo skill is the most important one, and that's the whole gimmick of her kit, but then focusing on basic Memo talent, ultimate, and talent will be ideal. So with her kit finally out of the way, here are Cyrene's best Lycorns. Beginning with, of course, her signature Lycorn. It increases speed and increases damage taken by all enemies if Memo Sprite skills on an ally, or increase crit damage of all allies if Memo Sprite skills on an enemy. And once the Memo Sprite has done one of each, increase the bonus for both. As you can tell, this is a very specific Lycorn that improves Cyrene's power once the setup is done. But getting her setup done, aka getting her first ultimate up, is the most important part of her kit, so although this is the best in slot, S5 Remembrance, her to store Lycorn, is also a very good option, as it also provides speed and a team-wide buff. Although the team-wide buff will expire after entering ultimate state, as it cannot skill during this state, the speed is the most important part, as more turns means more recollection generation, and making it easier to hit the speed breakpoint of the third major trace. For other options, the truth is that all of them are quite mediocre, as either they don't provide speed, and if they do, it's a signature Lycorn, which you would rather use for their respective units. But if you're able to reach a high speed without Lycorn effect, S5 Victory is a decent choice, as you can get a full uptime buff on that, and S5 Flower being decent too, especially for more DPS focused Cyrene build. Now moving on to Cyrene's best main stats and substats, starting with stat breakpoints. The first goal is to reach 240 speed, or rather reach 180 plus speed. This is to max out her third major trace, but the reality is that without some really insane pieces, reaching 240 is quite hard. 101 base speed plus 9 bonus stat plus 25 speed boost will get you to 135 speed, which is quite fast normally, but for a hyperspeed unit, even someone like Hyacinth, who is infamous for speed requirements, gets a base speed of 110 plus 14 bonus stat plus 24 speed boost, netting her at 149 by default. So the unfortunate truth is that just trying to reach 180 for most players is about the best you can do. Anything over it will be considered a luxury. Next is to get her to a decent HP amount, as she is a HP scaling unit, and having a non-energy ultimate, meaning you're able to go and run a HP rope, anywhere from 6000 and ideally more will be a very good amount. After that, getting to 100% crit rate will be good, as she does have 55% innately with base plus ultimate state, so making her semi-frequent attacks always crit will always be nice. Which, speaking of, to pair alongside that crit rate should be a crit damage as well. However, since she is already so stat heavy with HP, speed, and a bit of crit rate, just getting a bit of crit damage will be fine for most players. So with her substats done, here are Cyrene's best main stats. Body would be crit, boost would be speed, orb is HP or eyes, and roll will be HP. Body is mostly crit damage, as you can get 55% crit rate innately, so overcapping on crit rate is quite easy, but for lower investments, using crit rate or HP main stat but with high speed substat is better. Boost will be speed, as that 180 plus speed breakpoint is not gonna be achieved by itself. Orb can be ice or HP. HP is usually more recommended just for the ease of build and for casters as well. But ice is a great option too if you have really high HP without orb already. And rope is HP, as energy generation will not help you get ultimate points no matter how much you corp. With her stats done, here are Cyrene's best relic sets and planar ornaments. Her best in slot relic set will be the 4-piece Deliverer, featuring crit rate which makes it easier to reach 100, and a HP increase to both herself and Elysia, while increasing all allies damage dealt per basic or skill as well, which fits perfectly as she is HP scaling and with a high speed, making her basic attack frequently as well, creating a decent uptime on the second part as well. Other than that, another great option that is honestly more recommended to most players, especially lower invested ones, is 2-piece speed. Getting 180 is not an easy feat unless you have been in the mine for a long time. Even with a speed Lycorn, chances are you may still struggle to reach that 180, so 2-piece speed will provide the extra amount you need, especially since that third major trace is more important than any effect a relic set can give you. For best planar ornaments, it will be the brand new Amphorius the Internal Land set, featuring a crit rate increase and a speed increase to all allies when Memo Sprite is on the field. As you can tell, these are exactly the stats Cyrene wants, making it even easier to reach 100% crit rate and 180 speed, albeit only once she is ulted to summon Elysia. Otherwise, Burn Collection and Arcadia are okay options for more offensive Cyrene, but Amphorius is just more recommended in most cases. Okay, next up is Cyrene's best Eidolons. E1 makes the extra buff to Elysia's attack now gain Recollection and increase the instances of damage of the attack. A pretty good Eidolon that speeds up ultimate generation when in ultimate state, which makes her strength after setting up even stronger, but it does not address her biggest weakness, which is her initial ultimate, which E2 addresses. And speaking of, E2 gains 12 recollection points on battle start, and each time Elysia skills a different ally, increase true damage of the skill zone. This is a much better Eidolon, as it addresses Cyrene's biggest weakness by reducing the amount of turns needed to get her first ultimate up, while also including a true damage increase as well, and if you have learned anything from Tribu's E1, that is quite insane. E3 and 5 are just trace levels. E4 increases damage of the same attack mentioned in E1 for any time Elysia manually attacks using Memo skill, and E6 advances all allies by 100% on the first ultimate cast, and makes the same attack as mentioned on E1 and E4, reduce defense for the first time, and advance allies action for every other time onwards. Overall, Cyrene has some quite good Eidolons. Totally not because her E0 sucks, but anyways, E1 and E2 are of course her most useful ones, with E2 being a really good Eidolon as it fixes the biggest issue, making her a very powerful unit. So for the classic question of E1 versus S1, E2 is a clean winner this time. Yep, you heard me right. We are skipping E1 and S1 because E2 is just that good on her. Jokes aside, E1 would be the better option over S1 simply because S1 is just not that good for a signature Lycorn, especially since it does not help with the recollection generation at all, and the Herta Store Lycorn is quite competitive, and also E1 is on the way to E2, so do with that with what you will. Finally, last but not least, Cyrene's best teammates and teams. I do want to start off by addressing 2 points, which is Cyrene used outside of Chrysos Hera teams are questionable at best, so avoid that if possible. And technically, Cyrene can be used in every single Chrysos Hera team, but some of them are also questionable at best. So with that said, a couple of units I want to quickly mention for Cyrene are first, all Remembrance units, namely Castorus, Evernight, RMC, and Hyacinth. If you could not tell already, more Memo Sprite means more ultimate generation for Cyrene, so just by being a remembrance unit, they are already very good with Cyrene, but in addition, Castor's special buff with Ultimate Overflow is very strong, as even in normal situations, it tends to go over cap, albeit sometimes only a little bit, so this just means that no amount of charge is being wasted anymore, which is very good. Evernight's special buff makes her even stronger as a buffer, but that also affects herself, so her damage will go up as well. RMC's buff is great, but the most important part is that RMC is able to action events Cyrene for more turns, leading to a faster ultimate, creating a very strong synergy here as well. Hyacinth's special buff can be used repeatedly on her without losing value, but also being very strong. Speaking about Hyacinth though, every team needs to sustain, so at worst, Hyacinth can be paired with Cyrene, making Cyrene at least usable even in non-remembrance based teams. And Aglaia is also worth a mention, as the special buff is also very strong, but feeding Cyrene in Aglaia teams can be quite problematic. Otherwise, other characters worth mentioning are first Mayday. Ignoring the fact that you are giving a CC immunity to a already CC immune character, the instant enhanced skill plus insane crit damage steroid make this actually a super strong buff for him. With the fact that Mayday does not really have real teammates, Cyrene is a great option to play with Mayday, as she, with Hyacinth and Ceredra, fits quite well into the void of teammates Mayday has. Which, speaking of, Ceredra's special buff is quite deceiving, as alone it seems a bit underwhelming, but when paired alongside other units that Cyrene can also buff, it can create some really strong interactions like Mayday and Anaxa, whom also has an insane buff with an action advance and multiple buffs for his skill. If paired alongside a Cyrene buff Ceredra, this is also a very strong trio interaction. And the last one I want to mention is Hycelin's. Her special buff is also very good, but her current teams are really good, and Cyrene is completely a luxury for her. So with teammates out of the way, her best teams will of course start with the Castorus / Full Remembrance team, featuring Castorus, Evernight, Cyrene, and Hyacinth. As you may remember, this takes advantage of all of the best special buffs Cyrene provides, while giving Cyrene the most comfortable way to get ultimate points. Along the same line, a more Evernight focused team featuring RMC over Castorus is also a great team as well. The next thing I want to mention is Mayday Carry, featuring Mayday, Ceredra, Cyrene, and Hyacinth. Do note, without the insane interaction of having Ceredra in this team as well, it is more worth it to run older teams for him. Otherwise, of course, as I mentioned before, all Crisis Heroes can be run with Cyrene, albeit some questionable, but some noteworthy ones are first, Anaxa team featuring Ceredra, Cyrene, Hyacinth is quite strong. Running Hyperspeed Anaxa can help with her ultimate generation, but at the cost of a bit of damage. Aglaia with Sunday, Cyrene, and Hyacinth is also a fine option. DOT with Kafka, Hycelin's, Cyrene, and Hyacinth is also a decent team. And Finon with Cyrene, Sunday, and DHBT is fine as well, with Ceredra being able to be used instead of Sunday. But do note, all of these less ideal teams will take some time to activate Cyrene's ultimate, so do play these teams with a grain of salt. So yeah, that does it for the Cyrene guide. Honestly, as much as I want to get mad at her kit, I really can't. I did a whole video ranting about her problems, and mind you, I even left some parts out as I can't bother mentioning them. So after all that, now I'm just sitting here hoping and coping for something to change before release. As a wise person once said, where there is delusion, there is hope.